Pep it up and let's get started. Some material in this podcast may not be suitable for all audiences, so listener discretion is advised. My name's Megan.
And I'm Ashley.
And we're Cups of Cults, where each week we sit down and cover a new cult. Okay. So, where did we leave off? We left off with your girl. This whole thing's going to be about Sheela.
The whole thing was about Sheela. HBIC. Sheela.
HBIC.
Head bitch in charge.
She sure is. So...
We were talking about homeless people.
Yes.
And how they used to drug them.
They sure did. So they had a share home program. That's how they, recruited them. Not only just the beer, but they were share home with these people. And they spiked the kegs with the tranquilizers. They sure did.
So, a share home program. So basically, I mean, honestly, if I'm homeless and somebody's giving me this deal, and they're like, hey, you can have a house, but it will be with other people, I'd be like, okay. Is that basically it?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So it was 2 beer, room board, 2 beers a day, but they had a whole I'm surprised looking back now, knowing that they only had 2 beers a day, and they, put drinks in them.
Yeah. Which, I don't know, there's some laws against that somewhere, right?
Oh, yeah,
so it goes back to their felonies, but, the main felony here that the feds cared about was voter fraud.
Yes, voter fraud. At least for these guys.
For these guys.
Because they weren't... So last episode we said, they had lived there for a while, but it turns out a majority of the people that they bust in hadn't been there the 20 days. And in Oregon, you need to be there 20 days in order to be considered a citizen. Now, I don't know if it's because they didn't change their addresses that they were not recognized, or it was because of timing. That's unclear.
I mean, it's kind of hard to change your address.
Yeah.
I guess it's not hard. Okay,
if you're homeless, it's hard.
Yeah. Because I've always said, too, that it's not with voting, I've always said, it's not that young people don't care. That's not why sometimes you don't see young people voting. It's that young people don't have a permanent address.
Mm-hmm.
And...
That's true. It was hard for me to vote because I have, a New York ID still.
Oh, really? So,
yeah.
Getting registered in the state you're in now, which we will not reveal that for safety reasons.
Yes. Let's not triangulate where we live. But I could get an absentee ballot, and it was more lax this year than it has been because of COVID, but it was still not easy to get.
It wasn't easy. Yeah. I mean, okay, so we had an issue because we bought a house recently, and... really going off on a tangent now, but our taxes were wrong for our house, and so we had to fill out 10 different forms to get the right taxes on our home. Then it wasn't seen as a rental property.
Yeah.
When, Tyler, my partner, he went and got a gun with just a water bill. It's so easy to get a gun. It took him, less than an afternoon to get a gun. They were just yep, here's your gun, go ahead.
Do you think it was easier, though? Because, he...
Is in the military?
Yeah.
No. They didn't ask about that.
They didn't ask about...
No!
Okay. All right. Well, with the things that transpired the last couple of weeks, we all have feelings. We all have feelings.
Yeah. So, anyway, we all have feelings about guns.
Yeah. But, so these...
I will say my personal opinion is that it should probably take a little bit more than a water bill to buy one.
I would have to agree with you.
But I don't hate them.
So they brought in all these homeless people, and they had to have been there for 20 days, as a filed resident. So whether or not they were there for 20 days physically, so it was not recognized by the state. So Rajneesh, the Rajnishis boycotted after a failed attempt to file an injunction against this. So they were no, these are people. It doesn't matter if they're residents of the area or they've only been here a little bit. They believe in us and in the cause. So they pulled their people out of the running in the 1984 election.
Okay. So they did all that for basically nothing.
Yes. Yes. In terms of getting people to tranquilize and bring over, yes, absolutely. They, too, so I think they're like, okay, well, that didn't work, so we need to, like, think bigger, like, more outside the box, you know?
And is that how we get into, like, the rest of the crimes?
Oh,
'Cause
it
maybe
sure
right
is.
now you might be like, oh, well, that wasn't that bad. I mean, they drug the homeless people, but at least they weren't on the streets. I mean, if you're the kind of person that wants to justify that.
Yeah.
But then, like, the crimes of this cult go even deeper because
It's a
they
snowball effect.
they were accused of, what was it? Let's see. We've got our list. Wiretapping, attempted murder, immigration fraud,
Yep.
arson.
Yep.
And they also found out, I think they found out recently that there was a plan to use one of their airplanes. They had their own airport, as we mentioned earlier.
Yes.
To bomb the courthouse in the Dallas, which was like a town nearby.
Yeah, so like in your county, there's probably like a courthouse where all like the official docs are and everything like that. It's not a capital of the whole state, but it's the predominant court system and jailhouse of that county, and that's where the Dallas were. So.
But hold on, I want to just back up a little bit because I don't really care about all that. I thought that they were planning to use one of their airplanes to bomb a place. Like, this is pre 9/11, guys. This is the 80s. This is Reagan's America. And they are, like, way ahead of their time when it comes to crime.
Well, that is after they had been bombed, though. So their hotel, like, Bagwan's...
In 1983. Yeah.
Was bombed, where he would have been. Luckily, he wasn't in the area. So I think they were... I don't know if it was trying to get on even playing fields. We don't know. We can't assume. No one talks about it.
We can speculate. But we will say we are speculating and, not a fact. Our opinion, not a fact.
Yeah. So, 1984, that's the Rajnishi bioterrorist attack, which is the largest bioterrorist attack on U.S. soil to this day. And first, probably, let's be honest.
I don't think it would be the first. I'll have to look that up.
It said first.
It did say first?
It
really?
did say first and largest. So maybe not the only.
So 1983, their hotel on their compound gets bombed. In 1984, they say, no more fucking around. And then they go ahead and commit some crimes. So we've got our
bioterrorist attack. We have our voting fraud, which is when they bust a bunch of people into the commune.
To rig an election.
Yeah, they're only... So for a homeless person to join the bus and to join the quote-unquote cult, they only had to vote for one of the Rajnishi candidates. That's it. That was their only thing. They also work, though. Like, a lot of the homeless people are so grateful. Like, they wanted to do it.
I mean, what do you mean, like, to work, like, to have a job? Or
they wanted to join them. Like, they didn't care what they... As long as they had, like, room, board, and drinks, they were like, I'm down. Drinks.
I don't care what you lace it with.
So hey. All right, if you've ever had jungle juice in college,
God,
though...
please don't remind me of my freshman year of college.
That's when I peaked, but, I mean... It's
the
same. It is the same.
Oh my God.
You are a young person without a house, and you come into this wonderful area. They give you some beer. You think it's the greatest thing. It's fucking spiked. No matter how you point it. That's why you go for the keg, though, because it's harder to spike. So they could have given these people jungle juice, and they would have been fine. They would have been on their way. They would have been good.
God. You just took me way back to, like, the first time I had jungle juice, and I made out with a questionable guy who recently followed me on Instagram. Like, that's kind of sad on your part, but okay.
Unforgettable.
I guess I'm a very good kisser, but, I mean, we just made out. That was it. But still, it was it was questionable. The whole thing was and like the frat house was of course sticky. Everything's sticky in college.
If your freshman year of college was not questionable, did you really go to college?
It was fair. He was like a senior.
Oh,
I was like, oh my god, older guy.
Damn, okay.
But still super embarrassing now.
Yeah.
Super embarrassing.
It's okay. It's okay. We've all been there. But we've never been in the bioterrorist attack, thankfully. Thankfully. So what had happened, I guess they knew that they weren't going to get away with this voter fraud, or attempted voter fraud at that point. So they decided that they would go to the Dallas.
I don't know. Megan can't even say Oregon, guys.
I
so
can't.
please don't be mad at us.
Or Ashram. I was listening to the last episode.
Yeah.
I was like, Ashram.
And I was like, Ashram. Say it with me now.
I'm lucky I could tie my shoes sometimes.
But you can say like Rajneesh and
no problem.
Bhagwan, like no problem
Bhagwan.
and no problem. But
Osho. Give me some Sheela. Ma Anand. Sheela.
Ma Anand Sheela. And you're good to go. But
I'm good to go. Give me a simple word, forget it. So they wanted to take out the pool of voters because that was easier, apparently, than committing voter fraud. Was literally incapacitating people.
So what was their goal? To just
incapacitate the people.
Incapacitate the people so that they can't vote?
Yes, so we're tiptoeing around this bioterrorist attack, but what they did is they went to 10 most common restaurants that had a salad bar and took liquid that was contaminated with salmonella, poured it into the salad bar while no one was looking. Now, how do you not get caught? When were you going to the salad bar? Are we talking 9 a.m.?
I mean, honestly, I don't have that much faith in food and bev as somebody who has worked in food and bev.
Same, but like that's hard to do.
You think so?
Maybe not in the 80s before cameras, but
That's fair. Yeah.
I think it's hard to do.
Yeah, I feel like you get caught pretty quickly now. They would just review the cameras and be like, well, this is suspicious. This is quite weird. But if you go to a restaurant when it's not at its peak hours, I'm sure you could get away with it, you know? I mean, you go at like 10 a.m. when they open and you're like, I am just a citizen here ready to eat an arugula and tomato salad.
You think they were fancy enough to have arugula?
That's fair. It was a pretty small lettuce and tomato with some croutons and ranch dressing.
Yeah.
We're not going for the vinaigrette. We're going for the ranch.
I'm sure the same thing happens at Zaxby's constantly. Yeah, I don't know. I think it would still be hard. Like, you'd have to go at, like, 8 a.m. before anyone, like, touched the salad.
You think so?
I mean, enough people got sick where that shit was sitting out all fucking day.
That's fair. Maybe they went kind of like, maybe they started to hook up with somebody that worked at the restaurant, you know, and then
Sheela could have.
No, they would have ratted her out if it was somebody as high up as Sheela. They had to have been like one of the flunkies. You know, this is a speculation again, of course, like how they pulled it off. How did they do it, friends?
I would love to know. I really would, because it's just wild to me. Just, you know, little spritz on the salad bar.
Yes, I would love to be in the investigation room with the FBI at that point, trying to figure this out.
It was wet because it was washed. It is not salmonella.
But, I mean, where did they think it was originated from again?
They didn't
know in the beginning.
They didn't know.
Yeah.
There was, like...
It was just a bunch of people getting sick, mysteriously.
Yeah. And I think they were tipped off, which is kind of where it all starts. So Congressman James H. Weaver gave a speech in 1985, shortly thereafter, saying that the Rajnishis were behind the Salmonella incident. I wonder where they got, like, tipped off, though. We don't know, because they were able to gain, like, search warrants.
Yeah, but didn't they find, like, a trailer on the property?
Yeah, with the camera. Yeah.
That had, like, basically a lab for it. It's just kind of like, well, you know, 1 + 1 = 2. It's the Rajneeshs.
Yeah, I think it's because they, like, interviewed probably Sheela, and her, like, perception of what happened, she was like, tough titties. for you guys.
That's an actual quote from Sheela.
Yeah.
She.
So 751 people suffered from this food poisoning. 45 were hospitalized. Actually, thinking back though, it could have been because there were 2 out of 3. There we go. 2 out of 3 state officials went to the compound because I think there was like speculation that these people were doing it, and they took a glass of water from someone dressed in hospital garb. It was a very hot August day. I'm not going to hold it against them. And this was like a month. No, this had to have been a month prior, but
A month prior to what?
to the bioterrorist attack.
Oh, so this happened before? Like they tested it out on this person? Is that what you're saying?
Yeah, and that's why I think they thought that they were behind this. So
Well, yeah, because 1 + 1 = 2. I'd be like, okay, so you got me. I mean, that's just super suspicious. Like, if I invite you to my house for a dinner party, and then 3 out of 4 people are shitting their pants, where did it come from? Oh, it came from my house. I'm sorry, I'm not a good cook, apparently.
yeah, so 2 out of the 3 county commissions visited the compound. A resident in hospital garb offered them water, which they accepted, and the next day they became violently ill. And they were in the hospital for 4 days, and had they not gone to the hospital, they would have been dead.
Oh my god.
That's what doctors said.
Anyway. Oh my god. Like severe dehydration? Or... My question, though, is like, what?
Possessed them?
No. No, it's like...
We know that.
If something's like tampered with salmonella, does it have a certain taste, or does it just taste normal?
What if it's like one of those genes, like with cilantro?
Where you can taste it and where you can't taste it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, it's really funny because Tyler will be cutting onions and he'll have on, like, his swimming goggles.
Oh, that's a good idea.
Because he cries so much. But me, I'm in there like, chop, 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 chop. Because it doesn't make me cry.
I cry constantly.
Onions don't make me cry. I don't have that gene or something, I guess.
I cry. But it's like a burn. Like, it just, like,
it's a burn.
Slowly. And then I'm like, I need to shut my eyes because I'll die.
This man is in the kitchen crying like he just watched the opening scene of Up.
Okay. So, maybe I have, like, a combination.
Just, like, ooh. And I'm eating it raw like it's an apple.
Oh, yeah,
because I'm disgusting.
No. But, yeah, so I think that's how they were tied to this. And the reason why they took out those 2 officials with salmonella is kind of unclear. I think they were like a post-threat to the commune. And you know your girl, Sheela. There was a threat on the rise. She was
ready to squash it.
Oh,
she was
more
doing,
than that.
Like, I don't even think it was, like, about the religion, but it was about, like, her legacy and, like, her community.
Yeah. Like you said last episode, because I asked you. Yeah, I was like, do you think she was, like, in love with him, or she would have done whatever for whatever she, like, quote-unquote believed in? And you said, probably for whatever she believed in. And this is proof.
I'm trying to remember what I said.
You said...
I think I vaguely do remember that, but because she is the type of person that, she's very ambitious.
She is very ambitious. She's a go-getter.
But she takes it too far. She's going to channel it into whatever she can.
I think the question was, like, do you think she's obsessed with him? Or, like, she would have done the same thing for someone else. And you said it didn't matter if she met the Bagwan or not. She would have done the same thing. Now, I don't know, because she was fucking obsessed with this man. Obsessed.
Okay, so tell me more. Maybe I don't know enough about, like, how obsessed she is with him.
She hella obsessed.
Scene girl. She's hella obsessed.
Hella obsessed. But, like, if you listen to the way she, like, speaks about him, it's, like, God to her.
Okay.
And I think a lot of the other individuals who were in the cult also spoke of him as, like, a God-like figure. Like, Bhagwan apparently means, like, God in, like, Sanskrit.
And some people had lockets with his.
Everyone had a different... Indian name. You were given an Indian name and you were given a locket with his face on it. I'm just happy it was not lockets of hair.
Oh, God.
Oh, shall breathe.
I was going to say he doesn't have enough hair, but oh my God, that man's beard is like down to his toes.
He had I mean, he was bald, but, like, it was long.
It was long
hair.
Yeah.
So, like, where he did have hair, it was extremely long. I wonder what his pits look like.
She's laughing because I'm making a face, but
Megan, cut that out.
But probably like a little forest, honestly.
Yeah, he was a very hairy individual, considering he was bald, but that's besides the point. Okay, so after that, what do we have? So they're trying to hone in on these people.
Yes.
And get them for what? Because they knew that this bioterrorist attack was them.
Yes.
But it wasn't, I don't think it was enough to convict them, though. Because just because they had salmonella on their property doesn't mean shit. They couldn't prove that.
It was connected.
Yeah, that there were 20 people involved. So they went in teams of 2 to these restaurants. I think one was a distractor, one was like the
planter.
Yeah.
In the salad bar.
That's what assumptions.
Speculations.
We just know that 2 people went into the store and 751 people got sick. That's what we know.
I'd be so mad if I went to 751. I'd be like, I was just trying to eat healthy, get my blood sugar under control, take care of my heart.
You're literally getting ridiculed for going to a salad bar at a chain restaurant.
Because I know growing up, like, whenever I'd be like, well, I'm going to go to the salad bar, they'd be like, oh, Miss Healthy over here doesn't want a steak.
Yeah. And it was they literally said, quote unquote, incapacitate people for election day. So they'd be, like, too sick to do it.
That's so messed up. But, I mean...
And I think that's another thing that maybe tied the Rajneesh to them, though, because they had backed out. They were just like, no, like, we're not going to do anything, if our fake voters can't vote, we're not in it.
Right.
So, that leads us.
Well, I mean, we also didn't mention that... Okay, so another thing that was going on at this time is that there was a lot of immigration fraud.
Yeah. And I think that's what they wanted to target them on, like, this chemical, like, no one died, so they couldn't, like, persecute, I think. And although salmonella was found on the property, there's no proof of those people going in. It's all, like, hearsay. And no one would say. It was deduction. It's like how we're assuming things of this cult was their evidence.
Okay, do we know that for sure, though?
No.
There's so much going on with this cult, you guys.
So much.
But, okay, so also at the time, we're
1985.
Yeah, immigration fraud.
Mm-hmm.
And we have U.S. Attorney Charles Turner, who is go ahead.
No, go ahead.
Who is looking, he's appointed to look into this immigration fraud because the cult is having quote-unquote sham marriages. And so things take a bit of a turn, and they target this guy, Mr. Charles Turner.
They sure do.
To assassinate him. They have a plan to attempt to murder this man.
Yes. So, again, in the documentary, keep bringing it up, but
Wild Wild Country.
Wild Wild Country.
On Netflix.
It sure fucking is, though.
If you got 6 hours, it's a good 6 hours to waste.
If you want to see the SNL highlight, go for it.
You have to link the SNL. The SNL
I was there
parody.
For the Free Love Movement. So, anyway. So
We're going to be so confused at that part if I haven't seen that. We should explain that real quick. So,
which one? SNL?
The SNL joke, yeah.
Yeah, so SNL, like, covered it, I guess, when the documentary came out. Now, the documentary thing, at least to my knowledge, did not become very popular until, like, the last couple of months, because everyone's sitting in their house, and they're, like, really
hiding
invested.
from COVID.
Yeah, really invested in true crime, because nothing's occurring right now, and our lives are boring. And 2 years ago, SNL did, like, a little cover of the Wild Wild Country. Like, it was, like, a little parody where Kenan Thompson was, like, for lack of better words, was the only black guy in this...
In the cult.
In the cult. Not in the cult,
Not in the cult, but, like, in
the advertisement. And he was like, I was just there for the ass. And, like, these older white women are talking about how they were there for, like, spiritual growth and enlightenment. And they even have the David Barry nap.
And he's like, man, I was getting so much. He's like, I love this sex cult. And they mentioned, they're talking about the Bagua, and he goes, who's that?
Who's trying that? Because, yeah, someone who personified Sheela was like, would you kill for Bagua? Or would you kill for Rajneesh? And he's like, who?
That.
Who is that? But I think that it's kind of, it's funny, but it's also, like, realistic. Like, I feel like a lot of people didn't know who he was. And they would fight for him.
Oh, yeah, they were just like, wait, I can have a bunch of sex and just, like, be a hippie. And they kept talking about how this cult did not do drugs. You cannot tell me this cult did not do drugs.
They tranquilized followers.
Like, and this is definitely a cult that I feel like, you know, very hippie, even though it's the 80s at this point. You cannot tell me they were not doing LSD. I don't believe you. Maybe not everybody was doing LSD, but they were doing Valium, something. And then apparently their leader ended up addicted to drugs.
Oh, yeah.
We need to circle back to that.
We do. Because his downfall was prior to this election, I'd say. He had... Hassia was the woman's name, and she was married to a Randall who produced The Godfather. His name was Albert Ruddy, I want to say. But they became interested in the cult in 1983. So it's, like we said before, it's kind of really a snowball effect of how many crimes went down.
Because in 1983, I mean, it wasn't... And a lot of people in this cult did not know about these crimes going on. It was basically Sheela and the people who were close to her.
Her
24 disciples. I'm going to say her 24 disciples. And so a lot of these people, you know, they're very much victims in this situation where they believe in the ideology of this place. And this place seems pretty great from the outside. I mean, it's a little weird that the only color you can wear is orange. But
we're at red right now.
Oh, red. Sorry.
Sunrise.
Okay, well, you can diversify your wardrobe a little bit with red, but I mean, they care about nature. Like there's gender equality, but I mean,
most of them had grad degree, like 4-year colleges.
They have 4 year. What was it? 2/3 of them had at least a bachelor's degree.
Yeah, and I think 45% of the followers were women.
So it's very much like some of this like leftist ideals, but then it kind of went too far with the sex cult because the kids that were there were just running wild and couldn't read and. Yeah. It wasn't geared... I mean, if you were, like, a consenting adult, it's one thing, but if you had a family, probably wasn't the place for you.
No. I completely agree, and I think it was definitely a snowball effect. And maybe that's why Sheela had so much, like, reign during this time of the elections, is because... It was said that, like, Bogman got very involved with the Hollywood scene and, like, was actually doing drugs, but they were prescribed to him by a doctor. So similar to, like, Michael Jackson.
Right.
Who was prescribed, like, a bunch of sedatives.
Because he wasn't doing, like, recreational drugs that you would think of. He was doing, like, Valium, which can be just prescribed to you, but it's also very addictive, as we know.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, but, like, at exorbitant amounts, and Sheela was way too, I guess, entertained or involved with this movement of trying to get their control over the county and everything like that she wasn't focused on him as much. She said in, like, Wild Wild Country, she's like, shame on them for, like, letting him get addicted.
To the point that he was at. Yeah.
So, 1985 is a huge, huge, huge pivotal year for this cult. So, not only were they being looked at for this voter fraud in which it was really sham marriages, so a lot of their followers, while they were Westerners, may not have been U.S. citizens.
Right, and so they found Mr. Good Old Turner, who they planned to assassinate, but the plan never formulated. But they did find this out, and they did charge him with it, I believe, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
And they found that there were at least 400 sham marriages, where it was just them getting people in the cult married, so they wouldn't be deported. However, it wasn't like a real marriage, because most people in this cult, even if you were married, had other partners. It wasn't necessarily like the partnership we kind of imagine today.
Yeah. Yeah, it was like an open kind of marriage. It was on paper, you were one thing, and then...
But then you might not know anything about this person, really.
Right.
Right. Like, you know, what is that movie with Sandra Bullock?
The Proposal?
The Proposal.
Yeah.
Where they have a sham marriage, right? And they have to, you know, answer all of these questions. And I can't imagine that these people in this cult would be like, yes, so they take their coffee just black because, I don't know, like there's something wrong with them.
Yeah.
You know, they don't know anything about this person, really. They're just getting married for...
Right.
to not get deported.
So many people wanted these people out of the U.S. So they couldn't necessarily, like, prove their involvement in the Salmonella incident. They of course, did that check. They got warrants, and they saw the Salmonella, but it couldn't be directly tied to them. Again, it was all hearsay. So this was something that was, like, formative or, like, tangible that they could go off of.
Right.
Was the sham
Marriages.
So they trace U.S. attorneys, Charles Turner's every single movement. Your girl, Sheela, hired... Well, in her circle, she had Jane Stork. Stork? I think it was Stork.
I don't know.
We'll go over it. But her...
Tony Stark's father.
Mother.
Iron Man's father. Everybody's involved in this cult. We got the guy from Nike. We got Marvel.
As long as I get your Steve Rogers in there, I'm good. But her Indian name was Ma Shanti B, and she was like, she knew guns. Like, in her previous pre-Rajneesh life, she would, like, go shooting with her dad, and, like, she was the main assassin. And she was interviewed in this documentary, which, like, good on them. I said this last time, but, like, good on them that we're actually getting, like, a different side of things.
That's fair, yeah.
But she's definitely, I don't want to say, like, the picture child for Stockholm Syndrome, but, like, the picture child for, like, I guess what they were catering to in terms of followers.
What do you mean by that?
Because she's a little Doe-eyed, if you ever watched My Cousin Vinny. A little Doe-eyed.
Wait, are we talking about Jane?
Yeah.
Oh, yes,
she's
Jane.
like the picture child of
She
of
was the
followers.
assassin?
Yeah, because she knew guns. She was, like, one of the only people who, like, was in Sheila's, like,
inner circle
that was, like, could be a trained fucking assassin.
And we were talking about earlier about how she's, like, the classic cult victim.
Yes,
because she was,
what
was it? She was recruited by, who was it again? Do you remember?
She was recruited by that psychologist.
By the psychologist. We talked about this last time.
For
she
her
was failing
marriage.
Her failing marriage. And you go to somebody who you trust, like a psychologist.
Mm-hmm.
And this is just so messed up. She's already vulnerable. She's so doe-eyed. Like, I just want to protect her. She's like a little cinnamon roll.
She is. She's very cute.
But
she's like a trained fucking assassin. She's the one you have to worry about in the street.
But you have to worry about her mentally. You have to worry about her spiritually, okay?
Who has reins on her?
What?
Who has the reins on her? That's dangerous.
Yeah.
Because she's very, like, influenced.
By, you know.
Higher ups. I feel like she had, like, a issue with authority. And not, like, the traditional issue where they, like, disregard what they say, but, like...
She wanted
the hyper-vigilantes.
Yeah, she wanted somebody to be that figure.
To tell her what to do.
Yeah.
But, yeah, they said that they watched him for months and months and months and, like, knew all his whereabouts. And you read that.
Yeah, that they were trying to figure out where they were going to kill him, and they were going to do it in the parking garage where he worked in, which, as we all know, parking garages are really sketchy, no matter where you are, and they always make me feel uncomfortable. Have I seen what?
Saw?
I've seen
the first
one of them.
Yeah.
No, I don't love the Saw movies.
I hate them.
Because I'm just like, I don't know. I'm not scared. I'm just like, oh, that's
it's
gross.
just disgusting.
That's just nasty.
But they take. I always think about it when I walk through like
a parking garage.
By
I
myself
think
at night,
what is
like
it?
I'm gonna die.
The Criminal Minds episode where the guy takes the woman, like the people's eyes.
Oh God!
In the
That's
beginning,
my
it's like
worst
the two
fear.
girls.
Yeah, no,
yeah.
no thanks.
So we all use parking garages, but we also like we all hold a little bit close to our keys or our pepper spray when we're in a parking garage. Because they were trying to figure out, do we want to kill him on his route home or in front of his house? And they decided it was too risky, so they were planning on killing him in the parking garage of the building he worked in.
And he probably worked late by himself a lot.
Absolutely. Somebody like this, a U.S. attorney, this guy is not clocking your regular 40 hours. This guy is working probably 60 to 80 hours.
Never go into a parking garage by yourself, ever.
Okay, we're not going to blame the victim here because I'm definitely going to do that more than once.
No.
Please don't murder me.
No, I get it, but listen, when this whole coming to light of these huge crimes was coming, and they were targeting Rajneesh himself on it, honestly.
The guru.
Yeah, the guru.
Not the religion, the cult.
Yeah, the Bhagwan himself.
The Bhagwan.
They were looking at him because they thought that these were puppets in the scheme of things.
Right, they didn't think Sheela was running things, which more than likely she honestly was. I mean, I don't really trust the Bhagwan.
Even in her own words, she basically said she was running it.
She did it, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean...
She did it for him, but it wasn't direct orders.
Right. And I mean, I'm never going to look at somebody like Bhagwan and be like, oh, he's completely innocent. I'm sorry, anybody that has like a giant following, I'm sorry. Okay, well, I'm going to rephrase that because I think Jesus was a cool dude, but Jesus didn't have 90 Rolls Royces, okay? I'll leave it at that.
He was also before our time, before like...
That's fair. So
the media, actually, really.
Yeah.
So.
But Jesus still was like, hey, rich people, you guys are kind of douchebags. And then Bhagwan was like, Jesus is crazy. Get all the money you can. 90 Rolls Royces, that's normal.
You said last episode he was truly a capitalist. And I definitely hold that true.
Yeah, and I still hold the belief that, like, he may have believed in what he was saying, but I also believe that he was a man who saw...
Of opportunity.
He saw an opportunity where he saw a bunch of Westerners that felt lost and wanted to... I mean, there's so much cultural appropriation, and a lot of white people do it because they want to feel special.
I mean,
right?
think of... I go to yoga.
I love yoga.
We're not in a cult.
Right. Yeah, but, like, everybody wants to, like, that spirituality is very much missing from Western culture because we've got so much of the Puritan culture.
Yeah.
And that's not really applicable to the life most people live. But, like, a lot of our values kind of stem from, Catholicism.
Yeah.
And...
Traditional.
The Puritans
yeah.
in the New World. I mean, but nobody can really live their life to that standard.
No. And he was offering up, like, an alternative.
Right. And, like, we know, everybody in the Western world knows how much work kind of sucks.
Oh, yeah. 100%. If I could take everything I've learned today to live on a farm somewhere...
I would take it.
Done.
You know, I'm about to go on vacation and just hang out in the woods for a bit.
Right, like whether or not people are there,
yeah,
I'm good.
Yeah.
I'm Gucci. Like,
yeah.
And these were very, very, very educated people.
And they probably had very Why do we keep saying berry? We need
I don't
another
know.
adjective.
Extremely.
Or, I mean, that's not an adjective, but I mean, these people were probably stressed out a lot of the time, and they just weren't feeling fulfilled. And he saw an opportunity to make money off of them,
He exploited them.
and he took it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's my speculation.
I agree.
I mean, honestly, I don't feel like there's a lot of spirituality when you've got drugs and Rolls Royces
Right.
involved.
Right. Well, KD, Swami Krishna Deva, or whatever. The lawyer. His
And
name
mayor,
is...
right?
Yeah, his name was David Barry Knapp. He said that he was, like, truly looking for spiritual enlightenment, and he was looking for a higher power. And I think that's something that around that age, when you're, like, 30 or so, especially if you grow up being a Christian, that's something you're looking for. Because Christianity can sometimes be blind faith.
Right.
And then this guy comes along and he's showing you, like, what you think is tangible.
Right.
So.
And it's something that you can.
But he was a lawyer. Like, he was extremely educated.
Right. But at the same time, he had something in his life missing, and he wanted to fill that void, just like we all do.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody wants to fill the void. Maybe you should ask yourself, hey, why is everybody wearing orange before you try to fill that void?
I agree. I want to know, he saw them in India. So at that time, it wasn't as
deep
a strict following rule.
Because, I mean, I've wanted to go to India before. I'm like, oh, what if I just go to India? Because I have my summers off. What if I go to India and just, like, hang out in ashram and do yoga all the time? So,
I have wanted to go to, there's a 30 seconds to Mars. It's called Mars Island, okay? And it's an ashram for, like, weeks with Jared Leto and, like...
But it's a cult.
Your girl is gonna go.
But it's a cult. But Jared Leto, we gotta do an episode on that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
If it's anything like the Rajneeshes, I'll never leave.
You are not allowed to go.
I'm kidding. But...
And I'll call your mom. I'll tell your mom.
My mom would be like, get the fuck out of here. Megan said what?
Clearly Megan's from New York. That's why she got that Bob the Burgers.
A party? For me?
And not just anywhere in New York. We all know where she's from.
Yeah, I was the Long Island Medium for Halloween one year. And I felt like I was making fun of myself, but... So, we got off on quite the tangent.
I don't even remember where we left off.
However, so we were talking about how they had a very educated following. So, we'll go back to their persecution, or, like, things that they were... I guess, blamed of, and people wanted, or accused of, rather. Now, with a very educated group, it's not that hard for them to convince officials that they are not involved. Like, they need tangible evidence, and these people definitely covered up their tracks.
Yeah.
Until your boy Rajneesh.
Bhagwan?
Yeah, Bhagwan. In September 1985, he gave a speech saying that several of his people conspired but aborted the plan to kill Charles Turner. And at that time, he just said a U.S. attorney. This, of course, caused the FBI to investigate them, and he cooperated completely with the FBI because he knew it was Sheela.
Yeah. Or even if he was involved in any way, he knew he could pin it on Sheela.
Mm-hmm.
But I doubt he was involved.
I doubt it too. She was definitely like...
He just doesn't seem as ambitious as Sheela.
He was like the puppet.
Yeah.
That's why I asked last episode, I was like, do you think that it was like his idea, or like Sheila was like the Hillary Clinton sometimes, you know?
Dude, stop. We can't do this to Hillary because we don't know Hillary's involvement.
We don't know.
We can't do this to Hillary.
That's fair.
We can shit on the left and the right, but
I read her memoir
though.
She had like a lot of power.
Oh, you did? Okay, yeah. I didn't read it. So
She had a lot of power, like especially before like the Affordable Care Act and things like that came in. She was like the glue. holding it together. What we know of, like, HIPAA and everything today basically came from her.
That's a good thing, though, HIPAA. And didn't she also pass some legislation to make sure children had health care?
Yeah, I'm not comparing the two as in Hillary was bad and, like, Sheila was bad. I'm saying, like, Hillary was good, Sheila was bad, but, like,
But they had their ambition and their power.
Yes, but the power, they were behind a very influential member, which gave them.
Okay, so, like, yeah.
Go ahead.
Okay, because
I don't mean it in, like, a political bad way.
Right, yeah, because the way you were comparing it, I was like, girl, I'm uncomfortable. I can't say Hillary Clinton is as bad as Sheila, because Sheila was really bad.
No.
I mean, I'm not saying, nobody's going to say Clinton is perfect, and definitely nobody's going to say Bill Clinton is perfect, oh my god.
Right.
But
I think they both used a man as an opportunity to get their word out there,
with their ambition.
With their ambition. And it was not the vocal point is not what they believed in, whether it was right or wrong. Like, Sheila obviously was wrong.
And Hillary, not so much. In this case, the one we're using where she passed HIPAA, which, okay, for anybody who doesn't know who HIPAA is, you tell everybody what HIPAA is real quick.
Shit. So, it goes along with, like, the Affordable Care Act and things like that, but HIPAA is basically a way to protect the individual who's going through the treatment. And Hillary she did that. Like, that's one of Bill Clinton's, like, triumphant
legacies.
Yeah.
And this was in the 90s, Affordable Care
Obama,
Act.
Everything like that. But she was truly the one behind it. No one recognizes that.
Right. And she also, I can't remember exactly what it's called, but I know that she passed something to make sure that kids could enroll in healthcare, because I do have members of my family. Chip. Yeah. Because I do have members of my family that are not eligible for healthcare, but their kids are, no matter what.
Yeah, that was, like, her thing, and everyone, like, gave Bill Clinton the credit. So that's why I compare the two. It's not a political
Just to clarify that.
I think a lot of people, like...
We demonize Hillary Clinton, and Hillary Clinton obviously has her faults.
Everyone has their faults.
And we can criticize her for those faults, but we can also, like, notice when she does something really good, like HIPAA and CHIP. Thank you for knowing that it was CHIP, because that was going to drive me crazy.
Yeah, no, that's my bread and butter.
Sheila used her ambition for just batshit craziness.
Yeah. They both had, like, this same influence, if you...
Yeah.
She's, like...
Yeah.
The men are almost puppeteers to what the women want to do, and... that was at a time where they had to do it.
Okay, so that is actually a decent comparison, because we could say, like, Bill Clinton is too busy with interns, 19-year-old interns, and being a creep, because...
Then Rajneesh was too...
busy with girls and drugs is what, I mean...
That's why I always compare... It's not about good or bad, it's just, like, their positions.
And sometimes men act like trash.
Sometimes?
Okay. Not all, not all men. We love some men, but...
Do you want more wine?
Of course I want more wine. Okay. ASMR, like, you can hear it, a little bit of it. Oh, guys, it's... All right, listen, it's a waterfall. So relaxing.
Yeah, so that's the reason why I compare them. I'm just saying.
Just to clear that up.
Because, yeah, no, I
you see, like,
I'm
girl.
Like, I'm a Democrat, okay? Like, I get it.
But we also see the faults with Democrats as well, too.
Yeah, we take no sides. Always.
But we definitely don't take the Republican side.
We take no sides, but, like, periodically, it is Democratic.
It is.
If it has to be.
For us, it is definitely left. The right... I mean...
Everything you own in the box to the left.
I mean, we talked about Reagan, and, like, this is Reagan's America right now, and they're shutting down... I mean, they're shutting down, like, this insane asylums and, like, all these, which is fair, but then they don't have anywhere for all these homeless people to go. There's like the crack epidemic. And there's AIDS, and we're
Yes.
just letting that run rampant. We didn't talk about AIDS here.
We didn't. So we're ramping up to it quite a lot, okay? So in 1985, when Rajneesh made all these claims, was basically like pleading guilty to a lot of it. Not necessarily his involvement, but the fact that he had people in his inner circle that were involved in these crimes. Oh, wait, we need to go back.
We were talking about AIDS.
We were talking about AIDS, but that's like a little... In 1986 is when AIDS, like...
Became a thing.
In this cult, yes.
In this cult.
Yeah, so we're still in 1985. I forgot to say, though, that Adolf Hitler Recycling Center was a thing. So that's in my notes. But that's like circa 1982. It was just an interesting fact that they named their recycling center as an FU to the townsmen as Adolf Hitler Recycling Center. Anyway. After, like, Rajneesh had claimed this, obviously it caused, like, the FBI to look into the commune. And this was after they got their search warrants for just the contaminated Salmonella liquid. So this kind of opened up a floodgate for them. They also found, I want to say, fire at the county planning office after election. So,
girl, they set fire to the county planning office.
Right. So after
arson,
Rajneesh, he says this to his followers, which causes the alarm of the FBI. And this had been the first time in like over a year that the Rajneesh had spoken to a large group of people because he was dealing with that drug issue, which was more than an issue. But
you made it sound so small.
And that opened up the floodgates to everything else that they did. So, after, I guess, he started to talk to authorities, or started shortly after...
Who's he again? Sorry.
Rajneesh. After,
Bhagwan.
Yeah, Bhagwan. Shortly after, and I'm talking like a day shortly after he started to cooperate with authorities, Sheela and her inner circle left for West Germany. Like, they up and left. And that was...
All 25 of them?
Yep. And that was an opportunity for Bhagwan to kind of pin all these things that were starting to come to light onto Sheela and the crew. He said that, they had this conspiracy to kill the Attorney General, Charles Turner, and that they were actually planning on doing the bombing of the court as well.
Oh, yeah, because they were going to take one of their airplanes and just drive it into it, I guess.
Yeah. And in addition, there was a fire at the county planning office shortly after the election, and that was tied back to Sheela as well. And Rajneesh really, ripped her a new one. They burned her robe in, a ceremonial burning, I guess, within the commune. He gave a speech saying, that we had done that, I guess the Rajnishis had done this, but it was because of Sheela. They had been involved in these arsons, they'd been involved in this voter fraud, they'd been involved in this conspiracy to kill, and it was all because of Sheela. And he also made a huge point to say he never slept with her. Huge.
The man doth protest too much. I'm just saying, she was kind of hot, so...
She had a naked photo shoot in the 80s, which is, wild.
After she was convicted, she was like, yeah, let me get some money. I'm pose.
My little boudoir. So, I don't think he fully thought this through, honestly. I think it was more or less to, alert his commune that she was bad, and all these rules that they had initially had shouldn't be a rule, orange.
They got rid of orange.
Gone.
And so, I remember in the documentary, that woman was like, I'm so excited to be able to wear purple. I guess this is pre-Barney, but I was like, lady, you want to look like a purple dinosaur? I just, don't think purple, looks that good on people, but...
I love purple. That's one of my school colors.
Okay, but it's a beautiful color.
But to wear it.
My school colors for high school were also, green and yellow, which looks like snot.
It looks like a dinosaur from, what is it called?
Oh, are you talking about that, show that ended so darkly?
No, I'm talking
Where-
about the one where they had, it was like a two-headed dragon twin, and they used to like go dragon tails.
Yes,
So
did he also say like the religion was done?
as it was, he didn't feel comfortable in like having people pursue it anymore. So he basically peaced out in 1985. And he left. There were 2 Lear jets that left out of the airport. And I think there were like a total of 12 people, including the Rajneesh on these. And they like obviously split up. But they went to different sites to fuel. Like his plane went to like Salt Lake City, and the other went to, I think, a place in like near Las Vegas or something like that. And everyone was watching, like, this is way back in the 80s, and they were all watching like these signars, or what are you know what I'm talking about?
Sayonara.
Yeah.
What do you mean, like just
The
adios?
like the X-ray thing. The X-ray thing. Sonar, like, you know how a bat has what kind of view?
Oh, like sonar?
Sonar, yeah. They were watching
Okay.
sonars for the planes. Trying to figure out where he would go next, and they yeah. So they looked, and they figured out basically where they had gotten gas the first time that they were headed to Charlotte, North Carolina, and then they didn't know where.
Okay.
So everyone met up in Charlotte, North Carolina to detain him.
Okay, so what do you mean he pieced out? Okay, was this like when the feds were after him, basically?
Yeah, because he opened up the floodgates for the feds. Like, he started to say that Sheela had done this voter fraud, Sheela had done this Salmonella attempt, and everything that the Rajneesh were, like, accused of
Right.
was on Sheela.
So, I mean, honestly, like, if I'm working for the FBI, I'm like, that's a little suspicious. It's just her, and that you wouldn't be behind it at all.
Yeah.
And to be honest, I'm probably, if I'm a federal agent, I'm kind of sick of this cold anyway.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're not even American citizens. I'm like, and they've done so much, and they had so much power. I mean, they could have taken a plane and bombed a county, a state building. Yeah, they were going to do that. I would want them out. I would want them gone.
Same. I agree.
So here they are attacking him, right?
There was attempted murder. Like, he claims attempted murder on Charles Turner, the U.S. attorney.
Charles Turner, as we talked about earlier. That he had something.
That he didn't have anything to do with it. That Sheela and her inner circle were Sheela and 24 other individuals in her inner circle were planning on killing him because of accusations he made against
the commune for, like, their sham marriages, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So, that was attempted murder. Then there was arson for, they weren't tied to it at the time, I don't think, but there was a fire at the county planning office after the election. And the Bhagwan said that not him himself was involved, but his followers were involved. There was also, he said that there were wiretapping against, like, his commune.
Yeah, we didn't even mention that. I don't think that we went over everything, but the wiretapping, basically, they were listening to every phone call on the commune.
Not within the commune.
It was, it was like calls within the commune, but also like if you made a call out to the commune or somebody called you from within the commune.
Yeah.
So if you were working with the police and you didn't use a payphone because there were no cell phones at this time,
I think that was Sheila's way of making sure that
she had control.
Think that was in part to make sure that Sheela was found guilty. So he's obviously just confessing everything that he's known about that the commune has done wrong, but he said that he didn't have any involvement.
Then how did he know?
Because he had heard about this through his followers.
How did his follower?
But think about it. Think about like a drug ring.
Okay.
Whoever offers up the details is obviously going to get the least amount of jail time. That than opposed to someone who maybe had lesser involvement, but never offered up the details.
Okay, so do we think the Bhagwan was like basically innocent and just high at this point?
I think he knew what was going on, but he didn't think it was a real issue because he trusted Sheela that much. She was running his day-to-day life for years at that point.
Yeah, I guess that's fair.
I mean, she even holds true that she would do whatever. She would kill for the commune. She'd kill for Bhagwan.
Okay, so as we mentioned, Bhagwan is about to peace out. But that's because the feds are on him at this point.
Yeah.
And they are planning on arresting him.
Yeah.
Even though they don't really necessarily have any crimes against him, they basically want him gone.
Right. Because he admitted all these things, and Sheela and friends had already pieced out.
Right.
So they were I think that they were trying to detain him in efforts to get access to where everyone else was.
And so at this point, when the feds are about to arrest the Bhagwan, there's a lot of tension because, as we mentioned in the first episode, these people were strapped. They had guns. They had weapons. They had basically an arsenal. They had like a, what's it called?
Armory?
They had a militia.
They had a militia.
They had a militia, basically. And the federal government is planning on arresting the Bhagwan, even though like most of these crimes can be tied back to Sheela, not so much the Bhagwan.
So, I thought he pieced out because he would have to be sentenced for the involvement of the whole commune, but you made a very interesting point about, like, he might have been afraid of what his followers would have done for him.
Yeah, so I made this point before we started recording, but as we know, like, in this cult, everybody would basically die for the Bhagwan, except for the homeless people that were busting in there.
Some of them would, though.
I mean, some of them would, but some of them are just way too high to even know what's going on. And at this point, the federal government is coming down. They want to arrest the Bhagwan. And the entire time I'm watching this, I'm like, oh my god, this could be a massacre. This could be like a Jonestown massacre. And you know what this motherfucker does? You know what this Bhagwan does?
What does he do?
He just goes to the airport that they have in their commune. He just gets on a plane and says, deuces.
Yeah, he pieces out. He pieces out. He's done. He said his piece in his mind, and he's like, I'm out.
And the federal government's like, what?
We have so many questions.
But I told Meglin, why did I call you Meglin? Before I told Megan, before we started recording, is that I feel like if they had tried to arrest him on the commune, that a lot of people would have died.
Yeah, that's an interesting point. I didn't think of that, because I just thought he was being, like...
He was definitely being selfish. I don't even think that was going through his mind when he did it. Maybe it was.
Yeah.
But I think it was for the best that he did that, because people would have died on that commune if they tried to arrest the Bhagwan.
Yeah, it would have been, like you said, like a Jonestown all over again.
Yeah, the feds would have been shooting, the cult would have been shooting. It would just be a bunch of dead people.
Well, a lot of his followers didn't even know he was leaving. Like, they saw his plane leave.
Yeah.
And, or they saw two Learjets leave, and they were like, that's weird. I wonder why that happened. And it turned out that it was because, he was piecing out. And no one knows where he was actually trying to go. They did keep it very secretive, though.
But the federal government, like you were saying earlier.
Mm-hmm. So, the two planes actually went and fueled at different places, and I don't know. I would think, look like speculating that it was to try and throw the government officials off. Like,
I think so.
I don't think it was just like, oh, we're in the air, I'm gonna go over here, you go over here. I don't think it was like that. I don't think it was coincidental. I think it was very planned. But based on where they fueled up with the use of sonar, they were able to kind of determine where the Bhagwan and like his other plane would go. They were definitely more concerned with the Bhagwan's plane, who he fueled up, I think, in Salt Lake City, was going to Charlotte, North Carolina. So they put all their eggs in one fucking basket, government officials, and they're like, we're gonna detain him in Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay, I'm gonna be honest though. Before they even said that he was going to Charlotte, North Carolina, in my head I was like, definitely Charlotte, North Carolina. And
Were you really?
Yes, because I mean it's an international airport and it's one I think they had been to before.
Okay, I was thinking more like New York or Atlanta.
You were thinking like what's the one in New Jersey? Newark.
Newark, yeah.
Newark, yeah. Because I was thinking about like international airports on the East Coast because I felt like
there's a lot, but I would say
lot.
Charlotte's probably the most inconspicuous.
Yeah, and I was feeling like they wouldn't go West Coast because like if you go West Coast then you're going to Asia, and I felt like there weren't a lot of Asian countries they would want to land in. Like they weren't going to go back to India. However, I feel like that might have been smarter for the back one. Could have landed in Thailand and then made his way to Germany.
Yeah, well, so
it would have been quicker.
It would have been, but think about his followers. Like, I don't think he had a lot of, like, I'll be honest, like, Asian followers. I think it was, like, predominantly Western.
It was white people.
It was white people.
Little lost white people.
Little white people who were lost, but he was detained there, and he broke a deal with the prosecutors. He said he would agree to being guilty for 2 counts of immigration fraud, and that was when the 2 people like married. So he's saying he's guilty for 4 people out of the thousands.
400. At least 400 sham marriages.
Yeah. And out of the thousands.
There's probably thousands.
Followers. That he had, but he said, I will plead guilty if I'm able to go to, like, if you deport me, I won't come back to the U.S. for 5 years unless, like, the U.S. attorney gives me permission.
Yeah, and at that point, I mean, your United States career is kind of done.
And this was November 1985. And he said they suspended a 10-year sentence. He paid a $400,000 fine, and he agreed not to return to the U.S. after being deported. After he was deported, kind of interestingly enough, I wonder how he got the resources to do so, but he looked at 21 countries to move to and was not accepted in any of them.
Oh my God, that is humiliating. But
20 for 6 months, he like just think about how many
that's a lot.
That's a fucking lot.
I'd be like, come on, Ghana, let me in Ghana. Or if you don't let me in, I'm a Ghana. I'm such a Ghana.
In the documentary, it said he went to Japan, but like other research said that he actually went to India in July of 1986, where he traded his Bhagwan name to Osho, which is more of a Buddhist name, but it's more of like I don't want to say sensei because that's a different language, that's different like belief.
Right, and I'm not familiar enough with the culture to say whether or not.
It was more of like I want to say it was more of like a teaching title than like a god title. Like Bhagwan is like
Osha is more
God,
teaching, yeah.
And like Osho is more like I'm not your master, I'm your equal, but I'm your peer, I can teach you.
Which kind of comes back to like where he was after what happened with Sheela, where he denounced the religion aspect,
Yes.
that it wasn't really a religion anymore.
Yes.
And so he still wanted to, promote his teachings, get that coin.
Get that coin.
But yeah, okay.
Yeah, it was more of like if you do karate, it's more of like a sensei. It's not necessarily
Not a
like
master.
a master, but like a teacher. And one of the things he did was he gave Antelope back their name, so he restored the city of Antelope. So he took the city of Rajneesh completely out of the corporation and made sure to deincorporate his own city that he really didn't do. That was Sheela.
No, that was all Sheela. That was Sheelaville.
The city of Sheela.
The city of She.
He also, one of the things he did, because he did denounce the religion, but there were a lot of people who were following similar teachings of the said religion that he denounced. He reversed the free love movement because of the AIDS epidemic at the time.
Right, and we were going to mention that earlier. So this was a sex cult before the AIDS epidemic. So clearly at the time there were definitely sexually transmitted diseases. We've had syphilis forever. We've had gonorrhea forever.
They didn't have any though, and according to Sheela, that cult had never had an STI or STD.
Okay, but they also said that they never did drugs, and I don't believe that. So
Agreed.
So, but I mean, like, if you
or
get
alcoholism,
if you
and literally people joined for the beer. Let's be honest. So you think that's all it was? Was like treatable STDs?
AIDS is definitely a lot different because it's a whole new epidemic. I mean, we're dealing. All right.
Do it. Do you want more wine? I think I said a lot.
No, I'm fine. So peaceful.
Do it all.
I mean, AIDS is terrifying. People are dying. And people still do die from AIDS today, but we know a lot more about it and it's a lot more treatable.
Yeah.
And there are kids that get AIDS, like,
from their parents.
It's rocked the world, and it's definitely rocked the community because the idea of like free love and free sex, like, that's just not a thing anymore. Like, we're seeing like the consequences of it.
Yeah. I was like proud that he did that though, because I feel like that was a lot of, at least another assumption was I feel like a lot of people were attracted to that religion because of the free love movement.
Yeah, a lot. Maybe some people were like, I know, like, we were reading that article about the kid that was in, and like,
and he's like, I heard sex all the
time. And his parents were
traumatizing.
His parents were in. His dad was like, "This is great," and his mom was like, "This is not so great. I
hate it.
I kind of just want to have sex with my husband, but he's having sex with like 6 people right now."
Right.
And so, that's an appeal.
Yeah.
It's not an appeal for everybody. Not everybody.
Well, in SNL, he's like, but yeah, no, I thought that was pretty cool of him to totally denounce that part of, like, the quote-unquote religion.
Right.
Like, I know it was, like, for his... That's where I got the feeling that he was more interested in, like, the well-being of his people.
Right.
Than maybe Sheela was.
Right.
But, yeah.
I would say he's not the worst cult leader.
Himself, no.
No.
His inner circle, worse than other inner circles.
Yes.
For sure.
His inner circle had way too much power.
Yeah. But that's what he wanted. Like, he wanted to roll up in Rolls Royces. He didn't care how he got them.
Like we said, the Kardashians of cult leaders.
Yeah. In addition to him kind of, like, piecing out, we said before that Sheela and, like, her inner circle also pieced out. So Sheela and Ma Shanti B, also called Jane Stork, they moved to West Germany when all these, like, accusations came out.
And Jane, again, was the cinnamon roll?
Yeah, she was the cinnamon roll.
The cinnamon roll assassin.
while in West Germany, Sheela was detained. However, Shanti B was not. Sheela went on to do 39 months in a California federal jail after pleading guilty to attempted murder, arson, wiretapping, and assault for poisoning hundreds of people.
This bitch did 2.5 years, y'all.
It was a 20-year sentence if it were state, but she was like, "No, I'm gonna go federal." And it was.
Or was it the other way?
No, she said, "I'm gonna go to federal," where it's only 4.5. Yeah. If she had stayed in the state of Oregon, it would have been 20 years. She was then deported to Frankfurt, Germany, after her 4.5-year sentence, or 39 months, and she had to remain out of the U.S. for 5 years. The wiretapping accusation, we said before, it kind of comes from the fact that if individuals were trying to talk to media, they wiretapped every phone number coming in or going out of the commune just to make sure that their followers weren't talking. So
I feel like it's not just the media too, but it's also like the police.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just to, I mean, they were like
authorities.
policing their people.
Yeah.
So Osho, he did have his little commune in India after, I guess, he paid all those fines and went back.
You talking about his taxes that he owed?
Yeah, sure am. Sure am. He died in January of 1990 at the age of 58 years old due to heart failure. And you can see it on the documentary. He had, like, his name was, oh my God, I can't forget. I can't remember his name, but he had a new secretary, and his name was...
Is this the really creepy guy?
The Swami, yeah.
Oh, yeah. He just had, like, the dead behind the eyes look. And Megan was like, no, he's kind of hot. He looks like a little bit like Christian Bale. And
No, that was David.
That's KD. That's
KD. KD looked a little, and I was like, that's about it. Okay. All right. But,
Megan has horrible taste in men.
Clearly. To the day I die. I sure will. I'm trying to find his, like, legitimate name. Anyway, his name was Swami something, but...
Swami something. We don't care.
He was the new secretary for, the Rajneesh, or his name...
Osha.
Osha.
No longer Bhagwan, Osha.
And he said that he held his hand for the last breath of Osha's life. And he said he was like, I held his hand and I could feel his heartbeat, like, dying down. And he said, Osha, I think this is it. And Osha said to Swami, he's like, I think you're right. And he took his last breath and died very peacefully.
There's like a lot of drama surrounding this man's death, though. How old was he again?
He's 58 years fucking old.
That's not old.
Of heart failure. He also looked like he was 80-something.
He looked ancient. He looked like he did look like a proper prophet, but this man did not wear his SPF. This man did not look at retinol or anti-aging.
No.
For skincare.
And what I thought was weird was, like, his new secretary, Swami, like, made everyone come into this, I guess that was then the meditation hall, and explain that, like, the Osha had taken his last breaths. And everyone, like, kind of saw it coming who was there, because they said the day before Osha had spoken, and he was just, like, it looked like if you breathed heavily on him, he would have fallen over. Like, he was just, like, his
So do we think it had to do with the drugs?
I don't know.
Because some people said that, like, he was being drugged, but I don't really know if I believe that.
Yeah, I don't know. So Swami Kitri was his name. He said he's like, I just told the disciples, which was all of Osho's followers at that time, that he had passed away very, very, very peacefully. Then they took his dead-ass body. I'm not kidding. Towards the river. or the river near Puna or wherever they were at that point, and they lit him on fire and like put him out to sea. It was very like a
Viking.
yeah. I was just
funeral.
gonna say yeah. It was a very Viking kind of funeral.
I would like that.
I'd be down, but like
I would be down for that.
the fact that like your dead ass body's in front, like all your followers are holding your dead ass body down a fucking hill to the river. Not about that.
That's fair. I mean, my death probably wouldn't be that creepy because I think there'd probably be about 5 people there.
That's not true at all. The thing that gets me is in the documentary you see it all.
Yeah,
you see his
you
stiff
do.
body, and like he does not look good. He doesn't. For 58 years old, especially, does not look good.
Yeah, he did look pretty bad. He did not take care of himself.
So that's where his story ends. However, your girl,
Sheela. HBIC Sheela.
Maybe we should go over Jane first, because Jane is a little less interesting. Okay. So Jane Stork, a.k.a. Ma Shanti B.
The cinnamon roll, who was
the trained assassin.
Mm-hmm. Who she was the one who was supposed to kill
Charles Turner,
U.S. attorney. But if you look up this woman and like just look at her eyes, like this is a lost soul. This is
Doe-eyed deer.
This is a doe-eyed deer. This is just a woman who was in a very vulnerable place.
Yeah.
And
they took advantage.
And she was very much like your typical victim of a cult.
Mm-hmm.
Not to say she didn't do messed up things. Being a trained assassin, probably not a great thing. But
she was the only one who knew how to handle a gun because she used to go with her dad.
Right.
And this was a very, like, peace-love community where no one had even seen a gun, much less shot one.
A lot of these people were, like, studying biology in college. Yeah. But not,
and she was like, no, like, I know how to shoot a gun.
Not how to, like, cap a motherfucker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So she actually remarried. She said that she had left her first husband while, after marriage, her quote-unquote marriage counseling didn't work out.
My marriage counseling ended up in me joining a cult. Story time on YouTube.
but yeah, she had I think a chocolate cafe in
that's cool.
Western Germany. Yeah, after she left, she remarried. Her children had gone back to Australia after their time in the cult and everything like that. She got a call that her son was dying of a brain tumor by her daughter-in-law. So what she had done, she went back to the U.S. to plead mercy.
Yeah.
So she could go back to Australia because she was basically detained to Germany and couldn't leave. Shanti B. She served only 3 years, but it was said that if she had ever returned back to the U.S. or returned to a different country other than Germany, that she would be detained again to serve additional jail time. So she was, deported.
Right.
But her son got very sick while she was living in Germany with her, new husband and her new
life.
Yeah.
She's got her chocolate.
Yeah, her daughter-in-law called her saying, your son is dying of a brain tumor, and she hadn't seen him in a number of years.
At this point, she didn't even know that he was sick.
No.
She didn't even know he had a brain tumor.
No. But it sounded like it was pretty quick anyway, even if she had known, but it was just the fact that, she hadn't kept in touch, and he's, on his deathbed, wanting his mom, because he left the commune once, I guess he was 18, I'd say. Both her children did. And
hope they could read and write.
They could. Yeah. No, I think they were a little older when they joined, too.
Probably, yeah.
She was a young mom, but she went back to the U.S. to, plead her, not necessarily innocence, but, plead mercy. She's
right, because she knew she wasn't innocent.
Yeah, she's I know what I did, but, I just want to be able to go to Australia to see, my dying son.
And Jane was originally from Australia.
Yeah.
So Jane went from Australia met this psychologist, went to India.
Mm-hmm.
It was really funny in the
US.
documentary, actually, because she comes in and she's like this kind of like entitled white woman, and she's like, what job can I do? And Sheila's like, yes, cleaner.
Yeah.
And I busted out laughing, because you're watching, like, this woman who
She was definitely humbled.
humbled very quickly.
Yeah.
Like, just the dynamics of
But
it.
she seemed like just like a distraught housewife that like just wanted to make her marriage work, and then she got caught up in
all of this,
Yeah.
honestly. But she proved her worth, because, like, Sheila was not into meditation. She, quote, said, like, not into meditators. We can worry about the lazy people later.
But Jane proved her worth when she could shoot a gun.
And she was also, like, a hard worker.
Yeah. So she went before the whole court to basically say, yeah, I am guilty, but I believe I've served my time, and I just want to be able to see my son. And the judge, she said in the documentary, was like, well, sometimes you see justice shine through mercy, but today you see mercy shine through justice. And, like, she lost her shit, and then she got to spend, like, her son's last moments together, which I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah.
But, like, because I watched the documentary a second time, I loved Sheila the first time, hated her the second time I watched it. I did not like her. I just thought she was too controversial. She didn't know what she was like. She was very educated, but at the same time, I was like, you have tunnel vision?
Yes.
And it's bothering me.
Did you watch it the second time after we recorded the first episode?
Yeah.
Because you and I both have very different opinions about Sheila.
Well, it was...
in the first episode we recorded.
Yeah, it was... So I watched, like, this second half after, and I was like, girl, you're so fucking annoying.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
And I didn't even really like Jane that much.
Really?
Yeah, I just thought she was, like, crying. And I get it. Like,
Just,
you're a victim.
Just.
But, like, accept what you did was wrong. Like, you're still trying to hold true that you were influenced. Now, while that's true,
it's
accept
so much,
that you're guilty.
Yeah, like, a lot of time has passed. It's time to admit, like, this was my wrongdoing.
Right. She did it in front of, like, court, but I feel like she didn't do it
within herself.
Yeah, or, like, in the documentary either.
But maybe she has, like, gotten to that point, but in the documentary she was just trying to make sure everybody understands.
It could be.
Where she was in that mindset. I don't know, but at the same time, people need to be held accountable for their actions.
But as far as Jane goes, she currently wrote a book about... It was, it's called something about secrets. Hold on, let me bring it up.
But it was about her breaking free from the spell.
Mm-hmm. Breaking the spell. My story of the Rajneesh, yeah.
But when you are in a cult, you very much do have that victim mentality, and you are under a spell.
I agree with you, but at the same time, I thought that was, like, a very interesting title for her to choose.
Why do you say that? Because it feels very, like,
manufactured.
I was thinking, like, the old fairy tales.
Mm-hmm.
Like the Grimms.
Like, she wants to believe she was good, and she did all this shit for bad. But, like, Sheila did the same thing. I think she's still very under the influence of Sheila, even though that they don't speak.
Yeah.
Like, they don't speak to this day, but I feel very, like, she doesn't want to say the wrong thing in fear of what Sheila would say. Because if that bitch, like, listen, if Sheila had wronged me and we're talking 30 years down the line, I'm going to say all the shit on Sheila. Especially if I hadn't talking to her in, like, 30 years, I'm going to be like, she told me to do this. She told me to do that. And Jane's just like, well, I was encouraged to do,
I'm just imagining Megan at 30 years down the line, talking 7 years, and I'm like, yeah, and Megan's like, yeah, that bitch Ashley, she told me to do that, she told me to do that, she told me to do that, You think she's a good person. She's really not.
No, you're not a cult leader.
I don't like enough people to be a cult leader. I'd be like, please don't follow me.
I would
please
have
go
nothing
away.
bad to say about you. If you got us in trouble in the law, I'd be like, this bitch Ashley, though. I need to tell you about her, just so you know. Just so you know.
And everybody, like, and you think everybody thinks you're. Oh God, I'm trying to quote it, but like when Regina George is talking to Caddy, but you know everybody says about you that you're a less hot jungle version freak of me. And me, like that would have been really entertaining if like Sheila and Jane were just like being mean girls the entire time. Oh, somebody needs to make a parody of that. That would be funny.
Sheila did. Sheila, like, put Jane's ass on the fucking line.
Okay, but Sheila's fucking crazy, man.
I know. Jane was just like, I did what I did because I wanted to do it. No, bitch, you did it because you knew you had to do it. You're Stockholm Syndrome 101.
Yes, absolutely. She's very much like a dark fairy tale. Poor Jane.
Little doe idea.
But at the same time, you're right. Like, at this point in her life, it's time to just grow a little bit. And meditation's great. Do some meditation. And unless it gives you, like, PTSD flashbacks.
Don't do it.
Then don't do it. Find another way. But reflect on it because, I mean, I have messed up so many times in my life.
Same. I don't like to think about it.
Tell you I did. I did.
Like, I'll be very vague and ambiguous. Like, you remember that one time I said something you didn't like? I'm sorry about it, okay?
Or there's, like, ex-boyfriend who wasn't really, like, a boyfriend, but I'm like, I would apologize to you. I'm sorry. But it's also, like, it's just happened so long ago that I'm like... I'm not gonna text you. It's just awkward.
It should be off your mind right now.
It's just I don't want to put that back on your plate, but I want to be like, I was kind of horrible.
No,
I was. My bad.
All good. All good. But we didn't even say what your girl Sheila's up to.
Ooh, and then we gotta say what like the compound is like in Oregon.
Yeah.
Okay, so what's Sheila up to now?
Your girl Sheila.
HBIC.
Well, when she was deported back to Frankfurt, she decided that her interest was in taking care of people. Now, I get it, though. I get it, because she took care of Osho, and she, even in the documentary, she's like, y'all fucked up. He got addicted to drugs on your watch. It's not because he took them by himself. It's because you let him. So totally controlling. But anyway.
And what? Who is she taking care of, by the way?
Older people. She runs a home. Yeah, she runs basically a nursing home in Europe.
I wonder how she did during COVID. Okay, but before we go home, we have to tell the people what the commune is today.
It is the best thing ever.
It's hilarious because it went from the commune where they built their whole city. They built this from the ground up.
Rajneesh.
Yep, in Oregon, and it went from a sex cult to what?
A Christian camp. Now, had it been Catholic camp, I would have 1,000% have been there. I'm not even kidding. Like, you're laughing, but, like, I'm not kidding. Because I had gone to the Catholic Youth Conference of America in 2011, 10 years ago.
She also went to a Catholic college.
I sure did.
She did.
So if it were Catholic, I'd have been there. It also looks pretty cool, though.
Okay, but you didn't tell people what Christian organization it is. Do you know?
No.
Okay, so it's Young Life.
Well, Young Life, yeah, but what Christian organization is that? Like
Young Life.
What is Young Life?
Oh my God. We were talking about purity culture, Joe Jonas, the whole Jonas Brothers thing.
Right.
Okay,
it is an abstinence. I got that.
But Young Life is basically a place where they get a bunch of young people together.
No.
And they talk about Jesus, and then they just wear like purity rings, and they're like, I'm saving myself for marriage.
Okay, there's no difference between that and Catholic.
Okay, but at least in Catholicism, you can confess to your
Atone
sins.
your-
If you have like sex, or you do something sexual and you're a young teen
Have you
in
ever-
young life, you're just bad. You're going to hell. I'm
it's
sorry.
like Blessed, where she gets pregnant and she's like,
God, a lot of people are gonna get mad at me for my description of young life, but I just think it's hilarious that I went from like this free love cult to this whole like purity teenagers suppressing all of their hormones.
Yo, well, where they have cafeteria is probably where orgies occurred. I'm not gonna lie. It has happened.
There's so much sexual energy.
There still is sexual tension, I'm sure.
Oh, absolutely. Just because you're a teenager in young life doesn't mean you don't have sexual tension. It just means you're like, I have to save it until marriage.
I just have to suppress this feeling forever.
And so basically, if you're in young life, you're like, where's my husband? Where's my wife?
I'm gonna scope him out. I'm gonna sit right here. See? I see you. So thank you for sitting with us and enjoying a nice cup of cult. What were you drinking this week? What would you want to be drinking this week?
I had green tea that tasted like Fruity Pebbles today.
So that's our tea.
Yeah, but
Green tea that tastes like Fruity Pebbles.
But this episode was fueled by wine, friends.
Always fueled by wine.
It's looking
Drinking
courage.
tea but fueled by wine. I love it. You know, a lot of people who start this shit, they end up drinking what they say they're gonna drink.
I feel like a lot of people, when they listen to podcasts too, it's like they're cleaning their bathroom.
Fair.
Like when I listen
do.
to podcasts, I'm like, all right, here's the bleach.
But yeah, that was this episode. Hopefully we cleared everything up from episode 1 that we didn't cover. And thank you for joining.
Yes, thank you for listening.
We appreciate you. That's why we're here.
Because we're talking about religion too.
But here we are. All our friends, one place.
Thank you so much for listening. We really do appreciate all of our listeners. We'll be back next week with another podcast.
We sure will.
About a different cult. I think we're planning on QAnon for the next one.
I think so. I think that's a good plan.
Yeah, so...
Part 1, again.
It might be a part 1.
It's going to be a
part 2
couple
again.
parter.
For
I feel that.
QAnon?
There's so much.
I mean, there is, but we'll talk about that later.
We'll chat. We'll
All
chat.
right. So thank you again for listening.
Thanks, guys.
We appreciate you.
We sure do.
We hope you enjoyed this episode. Please
sure
give us
do.
feedback. Tell us what you liked. You know what? Tell us what you didn't like. We can
Mhm.
handle it. We've got tough skin. I work with middle schoolers. I have tough skin.
I work with angry clients constantly, so
Oh God, yes, she does.
like us on
Worse. Mm.
we're on Instagram and Twitter at Cult Cups, and you can go on Linktree, and we're at Cups of Cults. There we go. We're also on the website cupsofcults.com, so you can listen to us there, and as well as YouTube at Cups of Cults. So thanks for listening in and cupping it up with us, and next week we'll get started again.
All right.
All right.
Bye, guys. Thank you.
Bye.